Hey everyone, it's Rayce Robinson, your favorite Florida lender. Hope you're doing as good as you can and all this craziness. At least things are starting to opening up. At least they are here in Central Florida. So I was really interested to see these numbers for May, which really covers the end of April, because that was the first entire month that the market was in lockdown, really for all of Florida. And even though mortgages and real estate were deemed essential services, obviously the entire market being in lockdown and a worldwide pandemic was going to have some negative impact on the market, and of course it did. So these are what the numbers came out to be for April, kind of my opinion on what that means, and really, if you're a homeowner or buying a home, what I think that means going forward here in 2020 and really beyond. Total listings is something that I really like to look at because that's the inventory, right, of the market. And so inventory is really what drives the market. So in March, there were 7,341 homes on the market, and in April there were 7,659. That's a 12% increase. So I was curious. I looked at April of last year, March to April last year. In March of 2019 there were 8,117, and then in April it fell to 7,888. So we actually went from a decline in 2019 to where, obviously with the pandemic and lockdown, inventories went up 12%, which really, it's one of those numbers I thought would be a lot higher than that. Now 5,600, or actually 5,656 of those are actual single family homes. But again, really low inventory for our market here in Central Florida. New listings, new homes on the market. In March, there were 4,150 new listings. In April, 2,800. So big drop in new listings, people putting their home on the market. And I want to come back to that number because that's kind of what I would expect, but I want to show you the correlation of what I think has happened and really kind of my prediction of how that will impact the market going forward. New contracts went from 2,914 down to 2,224. And really the big one to look at, sales closed in March were 3,204, and in April were 2,393. That is from March to April, a 25% drop, which makes sense nationwide. They're saying there was about a 31% decrease in mortgage applications. I did look because I was curious. In April of 2019, there were 300,142 sales, and then in April, 3,329. So really March and April typically stay pretty even, and instead we had that 25% drop. Average days on the market, 47 days, down from last month. Again, probably with the low inventory, and rates down about 0.25% to about 3.25%. Again, rates depend on your situation, but in general, rates have slowly been improving with everything the government's doing. So what do these numbers mean, and what can we learn from looking at these numbers really about, obviously, that more than just that the markets was affected by the pandemic and the lockdown, but I'm more interested in like, how can I look at these numbers now that we're getting some data, how that's going to affect things going forward this year. The big question is, obviously, is the market truly going to depress? Are we going to have a foreclosure boom? There's, with the CARES Act, there's record numbers of forbearances, which are really helping homeowners get through this time. But really, what is going to happen? So I say, and it's not me, economists say market imbalances create market changes, meaning if all of a sudden your inventory goes way up and your sales go way down, right? That's going to create a decrease in prices because higher inventory, lower sales. Or the opposite is true, which has been really our market for the cases, lower inventory and higher sales. I mean, there's lots of demand, but there's low inventory, tends to drift prices up. So what I think is interesting in this pandemic is if you take the listings and the inventory and you take the new sales, they both declined equally. Meaning that something that I've been thinking is you're going to get a market slowdown, why the market is obviously shut down, but the decreases make sense. Because in my mind, as the market opens up, those numbers are going to come back equally as well. Who knows how much, but you're not getting this big market imbalance that you did like in 2008 and 9 when we had the great, recession. So the great pandemic is affecting the market equally in sales and inventory. And I believe as we come out of this, my opinion is those will rebound equally. We'll just see how fast. So that's really interesting because, again, I talked about last month, Freddie Mac has that report where by the end of the year, even though they expected the market to decline, that they expected a net positive by the end of the year. And really, there's lots of articles coming out talking about if you're waiting for the next real estate crash, you're going to be waiting a long time because none of the things really, for the most part, point out that we're going to have this big crash. So if you've been waiting for a big decrease in prices, it's not coming. And if it was going to come, it would come, really would have came last month. And really the median price went from 250 to 263, again, because of low inventory. So there's really, again, no reason to wait. Obviously, there's lots of reasons to wait, if health reasons or if you lost your job and those kinds of things. But as far as the market goes, the numbers are down, but here in Central Florida, the numbers are surprisingly good, especially with Disney shutting down, Universal, all the big parks, and how much of Florida is really built on tourism and the hospitality industry. So, so the numbers, I believe, will start to rebound. And I wanted to kind of look at how this is affecting things, especially as the markets are opening up here in Central Florida. And really, I think for the most part, starting to all across the nation. In 2009, and I lived through it, the government tried to get involved, but a lot of the things they did, I think, were just didn't really help. The government this time has done some things right, in my mind, meaning if you're not letting people work and you're not letting people open their businesses, letting people have help on their mortgages, helping as much as you can with their income, is something that you have to do. I mean, if you lock someone in their house, and you've got to give them a lifeline. And the government has tried to do that. I'm not going to get political because there's, nothing's perfect, but there has been an attempt. And most people I know, even people that aren't working, are getting unemployment or getting some kind of their income subsidized, which is good because we're not getting the foreclosure spikes that you would think that could happen. And on top of that, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have allowed everyone to really go into forbearance if they need to as part of the CARES Act. I've done another video that I linked to determine if you should go into forbearance, which you shouldn't if you're not in economic trouble, because that could create issues for you later on. So again, the government intervention, I think that the market did not really depress or go down as much as people thought they would, at least as much as I thought they would. I'm really interested to see what the numbers look like in May, which will come out in June, to see how kind of things rebounded. But again, I think the big story is the limited inventory, meaning that there's still limited homes here in Central Florida, the median price shooting up, not going down. And then really the numbers kind of depressing equally, which makes sense, and with the shutdown, and then I believe kind of expanding upward, and then with Freddie Mac saying we're going to have a net positive throughout the end of the year. And then again, the government is really trying to help. I'm still doing record numbers of pre-approvals and refinances, and I think this summer there's going to be a lot of people looking to buy a home, especially if their job returns, rates stay low, and really, as the market goes, I mean, we are just in one of the best time buyers markets of all time as far as low payments, low rates, still lots of programs. So if you have any questions on this, the numbers, loan programs, really each person that's going to buy a home, your situation is going to be unique, especially with how you've been affected by the pandemic. So again, if you have any questions, reach out to me, text me, email me. Do me a favor, like this video. If you think it's helpful, that really helps the YouTube algorithm and other people finding it. Subscribe to my channel if you're going to buy a house, investment property, or get a mortgage ever. I'd love to help. Again, hope you have your own personal recovery as fast as possible. Make it a great day. And as always, let me know what I can do to help.